When an archaeologist is baffled by a discovery, they reach out to a historian. If the historian is also baffled, they turn to a scientist. And if science has no explanation either, we're staring at a mystery. You're about to see a series of archaeological puzzles that have left experts completely perplexed. What are the real stories behind them? Let's try to unravel what no one else has. Number 15. The Berkeley Mystery Walls. The only clear fact about the so-called Berkeley Mystery Walls near Fremont is that they weren't built by Spanish colonists. Aside from that, everything else about them remains completely unknown. Archaeologists and historians have studied them for over a century, yet their origins are still a mystery. Whoever built them undertook a massive effort. These walls stretch nearly 50 miles across the East Bay Hills, from Berkeley to the edges of San Jose. Some rise up to 5 feet high, and many of the stones used weigh more than a ton. Several sections pass through rugged, steep terrain. They're not high enough to serve as enclosures, and the many open gaps rule out any defensive purpose. Even ignoring the breaks, archaeologists see no reason a defensive wall would have been necessary in this location. Near Mount Diablo, the wall intersects with a prehistoric stone circle and spirals around a large boulder. It almost seems like they were made just to confound future researchers. What do you think about it? Let us know. Number 14. The Cult Wagon of Streweg. Our next artifact is visually puzzling. It might look like an ancient cart prototype or a primitive four-wheeled device, but it's neither. This is the Streweg Cult Wagon, dating back 2,600 years. It was discovered in 1851 inside a Hallstatt culture grave near Oldenberg, Austria, surrounded by bronze vessels, jewelry, iron weapons, and horse gear. The centerpiece is a 12-inch high bronze figure of a woman standing upright, holding a bowl above her head, encircled by smaller human figures and animal representations, deer and horses. Scholars believe the scene may depict ritual sacrifice, but interpretations vary. The raised bowl might have held sacrificial offerings or ritual libations. The wagon's design and content suggest religious use, but its full meaning remains debated. This unique piece currently resides in the Archaeological Museum at Schloss Eggenberg in Graz, Austria. The individual buried with the wagon was likely a high-status person, but their identity and the precise function of the object remain unknown. Number 13. The Golden Horns of Galahus. Let's go to Denmark to visit the Golden Horns of Galahus, two incredible artifacts fashioned from sheet gold. They were named after the town of Galahus in southern Jutland, where they were found. The first horn was discovered in 1639, and the second appeared nearly a century later in 1734. Both date to the early 5th century CE, placing them at the dawn of the Germanic Iron Age. The original function of the horns is unclear. They might have been ceremonial drinking vessels or wind instruments. Scholars lean toward drinking horns, given their size, fragility, and ornamentation. Tragically, both horns were stolen in 1802 and melted down for their gold. Even the 18th century wax casts of the originals were later lost. Replicas on display today are based on secondary impressions. One of the replicas was stolen again in 2007, but was recovered. Despite these setbacks, their detailed decoration still offers rare insight into early Germanic elite culture. Number 12. The Cave of Hercules. Well, you'd expect a place called the Cave of Hercules to be in Greece or Italy, but it's actually located in Tangier, Morocco. More accurately, it's a network of caves situated near the northwestern tip of the African continent. The area is so entangled in legend that it's hard to separate myth from fact. One tale says Hercules slept here before stealing golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides as part of his 12 labors. Another claims the cave stretches 15 miles under the sea to Spain. A third legend suggests Gibraltar's macaque monkeys arrived from Africa via this tunnel. While none of these are 100% true, the real story is no less impressive. The caves aren't naturally formed. Though they utilize natural features, the original entrance was chiseled out by Phoenicians over 2,000 years ago. A second opening, facing the sea, was added centuries later by indigenous Berber groups who used the space as a quarry. Number 11. The Bedilina Map. This is one of the oldest known topographic representations in the world, but you won't find it in a museum. It's carved directly into rock in Italy's Val Camonica, on the southern edge of the Alps. While its engravings are obviously cartographic, experts still debate what exactly the map depicts. Some believe it outlines plots of land, trail systems, or entire prehistoric settlements. However, interpreting it demands a degree of speculation. There are 109 identifiable figures etched into the stone, but they weren't all created at once. Some may date as far back as the Bronze Age, around 3,000 years ago, while others are at least 800 years younger. Given its long use and multiple contributors, it's arguably more accurate to refer to them as the Bedilina Maps, plural. Most scholars believe the engravings serve to document or assert territorial claims, but we don't know which culture created it or whose land exactly was being recorded in stone. Number 10. The Dying Gall. The Dying Gall, also referred to historically as the Dying Gladiator, is one of the most beautiful and heart-touching things we've ever seen. The exact origin of this artwork is debated, but it's widely believed to have been commissioned about 2,250 years ago by Attalus Wans of Pergamon to commemorate a victory over the Galatians of Anatolia. It's commonly attributed to Epigonus, the court sculptor of the Attalid dynasty, although that can't be confirmed. What we do know is this. The statue is a Roman marble copy of a lost Greek bronze made around a century earlier. For a long time, the piece was misidentified. When it resurfaced in the 17th century, it was thought to represent a dying gladiator. That theory held until the 19th century, when experts recognized the torque, hairstyle, and weaponry as distinctly Celtic. Since then, the statue has been correctly understood as a tribute to a fallen Galatian warrior. It proves that our ancestors knew a lot more than us. Number 9. Wooden Canoe Burial in Patagonia. Back in 2022, researchers found a 1,000-year-old canoe burial near the Chilean-Argentine border, marking the southernmost and earliest known ritual of its kind in South America. The grave belonged to a woman, entombed inside a wooden canoe at the Neuquén Antug site in Argentina's Patagonian foothills. Scholars think this burial method symbolized a spiritual journey to the afterlife, likely influenced by indigenous water beliefs. The find challenges old theories about the geographic range of canoe burials and deepen our understanding of Mapuche ancestry. While the reason for the woman's death remains uncertain, archaeologists view this grave as evidence of a spiritual and ecological connection, where rivers and boats weren't just physical tools, but symbolic vessels. Although canoe burials have been noted in northern Chile, this find pushes the tradition farther south. It also highlights how water, ritual, and memory were deeply woven into early Patagonian life. Number 8. The Deburg Wagons. The Deburg Wagons are awesome, though technically the name is misleading, as the find includes 2 wagons. They were discovered in a peat bog near Deburg, Denmark, in the 19th century. Archaeologists have identified the pair as votive offerings, deliberately disassembled and deposited into the bog roughly 2,100 years ago. At the time, locals believed the discovery confirmed ancient tales of golden wagons hidden in bogs. Similar legends exist in southern Sweden, though none have been substantiated. The Deburg wagons, while not gold-filled, are exceptionally well-crafted and likely served ceremonial purposes. They weren't ordinary carts used for transport, but rather objects of symbolic or ritual significance. Their intricate iron fittings and wooden construction reflect the craftsmanship of the late Iron Age. Today, the restored wagons are housed in the National Museum of Denmark, where they stand as two of the finest surviving examples of prehistoric European ceremonial vehicles preserved in organic bog conditions. Number 7. The Oldenberg Horn. We've already looked at the golden horns of Galahus and noted how uncertain their original purpose was. That's not the case with the Oldenberg Horn. It was definitely created as a drinking vessel and dates back to the 15th century. The horn is crafted from gilded silver, heavily decorated with enamel work, and remains one of the most admired pieces on display at Rosenborg Castle in Copenhagen, Denmark. In Danish elite circles of the 13th to 15th centuries, drinking horns were prized heirlooms, passed from generation to generation. The Oldenberg Horn may have been the first such artifact not tied to pagan roots. It was commissioned specifically for King Christian I in 1465, though the creator remains unknown. He originally intended it as a gift for the Three Kings Shrine in Cologne Cathedral, but changed his mind and brought it back. The horn has remained at Rosenborg since Christian V sent it there in 1690. Number 6. The Hildesheim Baptismal Font. Hundreds of baptismal fonts have been found in Europe, but the one in Hildesheim Cathedral stands apart. Referred to as the Hildesheim Baptismal Font, it likely dates to the early 13th century, though its exact origin is undocumented. That ambiguity only adds to its historical intrigue. While most of the cathedral's treasures are well recorded, this font remains largely anonymous in the official archives. Originally placed in the cathedral's western nave, it was relocated to St. George's Chapel in 1653. During renovations between 2010 and 2014, it was temporarily transferred to a museum, but returned to its original area afterward. The font's style is considered Gothic, but the architectural details and motifs show strong Byzantine influence. What sets it further apart are the unusually expressive facial carvings, rare for the time. Number 5. Hermits Cave. Hidden in the woodlands of southeast Derbyshire lies the Hermits Cave of Dale Abbey, a modest sandstone shelter once carved out by a solitary baker from Derby. According to legend, the Virgin Mary appeared to the man in a dream, instructing him to dedicate his life to solitude and devotion in Deepdale, a marshy valley. The hermit excavated the cave himself, complete with window and doorway niches. Over the centuries, carved graffiti accumulated inside, creating a layered archive of visitors. Nearby, a miniature chapel was built, one of England's tiniest churches, sharing its roof with a former infirmary that once served the abbey. The hermit's well still exists in the adjoining churchyard. Inspired by his legacy, a monastery was eventually established on the site during the 13th century. Though destroyed during Henry VIII's dissolution of monasteries, remnants like the stone arch and chapel survive today as spiritual relics, echoes of the anonymous man's quiet, enduring faith. All right, now, let's head over to number 4. Statue of Uta von Ballenstedt. The statue of Uta von Ballenstedt in Germany's Naumburg Cathedral is one of Gothic Europe's most striking artistic achievements. Uta, the wife of Margrave Eckehard II of Meissen, died without heirs, leaving her fortune to help build the cathedral in the 13th century. 12 statues of key benefactors were created for the site, but Uta's figure stands apart. Her likeness, carved with exceptional precision, portrays her neither as a queen nor empress, but with regal presence nonetheless. The Nazis later co-opted her image for their propaganda, falsely elevating her as an Aryan ideal. Despite that distortion, Uta's statue retained its cultural significance and artistic legacy. Her beauty has been likened to Nefertiti and Botticelli's Venus, and is even believed to have inspired the evil queen in Disney's Snow White. Today, her likeness continues to draw visitors to Naumburg, admired not only for its craftsmanship, but for the mysterious nobility carved into stone. Number 3. The Canterbury Astrolabe Quadrant. In 2008, The British Museum secured £350,000 in funding to retain a rare 14th century Astrolabe Quadrant found during construction work in Kent 3 years earlier. This instrument, essentially a medieval equivalent of a scientific calculator, is one of only 8 known to exist globally. Despite being called a quadrant, the piece is complete and fully functional. In addition to timekeeping, it can measure elevation, depth, and even map celestial bodies. Known today as the Canterbury Astrolabe Quadrant, the piece is now part of the museum's permanent collection. Interestingly, Geoffrey Chaucer, author of the Canterbury Tales, was known to be knowledgeable about astrolabes, and this device, found near Canterbury and built in his lifetime, raises speculation that it may have passed through his hands. Though modest in size, it reflects the height of pre-modern technical design and offers a rare glimpse into the tools scholars and navigators used to interpret the natural world centuries before the advent of mechanical clocks. Number 2. The Anvil Stone of Stanton Moor. England has no shortage of ancient stones, but with monuments like Stonehenge dominating attention, many go overlooked. One such example is the Anvil Stone on Stanton Moor in Derbyshire. It's also referred to as the Andel Stone or the Twopenny Loaf Stone, the latter being a nickname whose origin has faded with time. Why it's called the Anvil Stone isn't clear either. There's no real indication it was ever used for metalwork. The monolith stands alone within a field, enclosed by a dry stone wall likely added in recent centuries. The stone itself may have been upright for over 3,000 years. Around that time, people began etching it with cup and ring marks, though their purpose remains uncertain. Unfortunately, any serious excavation has been compromised by generations of children using it as a playground. With the site disturbed and its surface worn, the stone's full archaeological value has been reduced, though its mystery endures. Number 1. King Arthur Stone. The legend of King Arthur continues to grip imaginations worldwide. One pivotal tale, the Battle of Camlan, where Arthur supposedly clashed with his treacherous nephew Mordred, may have roots in a real location in Cornwall. Standing there is a 6th century inscribed stone marked with both Latin and Ogham characters. The stone, over 9 feet tall, is partially deciphered by scholars to read, "The Stone of Latinus. Here lies the son of Ma." Its dating coincides with Arthur's alleged lifetime, fueling centuries of speculation. The site is surrounded by Arthurian markers, including the Arthurette Center, Lady Falmouth's secret garden, and the village of Malorne. Nearby, visitors can walk the legendary path leading from Tintagel to Dosmary Pool, said to be the final resting place of Excalibur. While hard proof of Arthur's existence remains elusive, the area holds firm to its mythic heritage. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you very soon.